Hello everyone, happy Monday, Allincrypto here. I hope you've all had a wonderful weekend and have got a wonderful week ahead of you. My apologies for no daily market updates out over the weekend. Usually we drop one of these every single day around 1 PM UK time to help you guys stay up to date with the latest and greatest things happening in the crypto space, but also the broader markets. That's what we're going to be doing in this one. So I do apologise for not making one over the weekend. I've had some stuff to take care of. It's always very nice to see comments and people asking where I am. We miss you guys when we don't make content, and we love connecting with you on a daily basis. If you're new around here, do consider becoming a subscriber. We've got quite a lot to catch up on this daily market update, or I should say correctly, in this daily market update. I will just start off with an overview of the cryptocurrency markets through the lens of Total 2. We can also look at Bitcoin. It paints a very clear path forwards in regards to this market from a price point of view. Ultimately, one thing that we do here is technical analysis. I know not everybody believes in it, and I can understand why when you see the kind of caliber of it that is propagated on YouTube and Twitter. However, I do truly believe that through understanding price action, which is a representation of human behavior, you can spot patterns and kind of understand how charts work, and it can give you an edge in regards to predicting the future of where price may go. So we will start the video off there. We'll look at the Total 2, which is everything excluding Bitcoin. We've got a technical pattern for this that's going to see the market nearly 4x as a whole. There will be, 10, 20, 30x movers within that. And I hope you guys are along for that ride. There's something seismic going on in regards to what cryptocurrencies are going to do for the world. And we are going to move on to that. Certainly looking at stablecoins, which I, for a long time, have actually been saying before Trump was even elected, the United States was going to adopt to propagate dollar debt, treasuries, but also dollar dominance. This is the agenda. What you're essentially ending up with now is a kind of morphing of the banking system and the financial world as we know it, and crypto is at the heart of it. It's one of many reasons why I'm so confident in crypto's acceleration. We will be looking at this. There was a talk given. I don't know who gave the talk, but it was a really interesting take. And then sort of that will filter us in nicely to what Bo Hines is doing with Tether. We've sort of said, many people even have good relationships with, I've argued with in the form of, I don't believe Tether is going anywhere. I think Tether is the agenda. There's a very interesting reveal in regards to one of the lawsuits. And it's essentially talking about how people have used Tether to perhaps prop the cryptocurrency space up. We could put a bullish slant on the cryptocurrency space given what they're going to do with stablecoins via this information. And then we're going to talk about sort of the ECB in Europe and their move towards adopting the cryptocurrency space. This is a global agenda. And if nations decide not to pursue stablecoins to help or to help with their debt markets, like in the UK, for example, we could really use it because we're a mess over here. Politically, I don't think there's anybody that would disagree with me on that at this point. Then they will lose to the dollar and the kind of dollar system. This is a matter of national security, monetary sovereignty. Every nation is going to have to adopt crypto. We speak to Rob Allen. He works with the Australian Central Bank, the Reserve Bank of Australia, and they're obviously piloting for CBDCs. All nations are going to have to adopt this technology or they are going to get left irrelevant, just like the companies that didn't adopt the internet, I should say, ended up as. And actually, Christine Lagarde had mentioned that, what the future looks like is people are either cannibalized by this or they're doing the cannibalization. And she said that companies like Ripple and Circle were very useful in all of this. So let us get into this all, guys. I hope you guys missed me as much as I missed you. We truly do miss you when we don't make updates. As promised, I want to start off with sort of a very quick technical overview of the cryptocurrency space through the lens of the total market cap excluding Bitcoin, the Total 2. And we've said this is in a cup and handle. I did a course for the Patreons where I looked at, I think it was about 50 cup and handle patterns. It's when you break into a new all-time high, you see continuation very typically. It's rare that you'll break into a new all-time high and fade it. I guess Bitcoin going to 69K was probably one of the very few examples that I've found. Predominantly what happens is you put in this kind of textbook structure in the form of a cup and handle, and then you actually go on and make your target. And in the total cryptocurrency market, in Bitcoin's case, which currently sits at $1.6 trillion, this has taken us to 6.3. And that's in line with certainly where we see Bitcoin going and permissioning the broader space. It is still that tide that rises and sinks all ships. We think this is going to over 300,000. Bitcoin dominance, which we do believe is now in a downtrend, or what we look at as phase 4. And certainly the positioning of the altcoin sector. We can look at ETPs that we've been very right on, so on and so forth. When it walketh, talketh, and quacketh like a duck, it is a duck. And I think it's very obvious the direction the cryptocurrency space is going in. What I want to do now, guys, is actually play you a take on stablecoins. And this is going to filter us very nicely into what Bo Hines is doing with Tether. But bring up a more, perhaps, important issue of the world that we're moving towards. And it truly does amaze me just how ignorant the mass population, maybe I can only speak for myself here in the UK, is to what's happening financially in the world. And the fact that we are going through a kind of economic rejuvenation that has crypto at the heart of it, which is why it's going to be so successful. And this market, we're looking at a $6.3 trillion altcoin market, everything excluding Bitcoin. I think goes significantly higher than that, given the role that it plays globally. How do you price a cryptocurrency? It can be quite hard. There are various models out there. There's a lot of variables that go into it. But if this technology is as successful as I think it is, you're looking at a very valuable space. And hopefully I would like to think that we talk about and have educated people on some of the cryptocurrencies that may play a role in this sort of world that we're marching towards. So let's dive into this.
I think Enbridge and stablecoins, as designed and imagined by the U.S., are competing forces. I think Enbridge and the success of Enbridge will accelerate de-dollarization, whereas stablecoins with the Genius Act, which was a very ingenious move, pardon the pun, to find a way to stuff additional treasuries into virgin pockets that never existed before at a time when all the foreign central banks are selling their treasuries. So we've run out of buyers in the foreign market. The Chinas and Japans of the world, the UKs, they were the Saudi Arabias, they were the traditional buyers of treasury bills. The stablecoin, the creation of the stablecoins is a means to find all, because all stablecoins need U.S. Treasury backing. That's the main backing to keep it at par. And so the more stable coins you create and the more use they have around the world, the more demand for treasuries. And I guessed that right away when it came out. And did you see that thing that Russia said yesterday? Yeah. So Russia came out yesterday, one of their ministers came out and said, called the Ponzi scheme out. He said basically the U.S. is what they're doing is they found a way to create demand for treasuries by creating the stable coins. Once the debt is transferred to these stable coins, they will devalue the dollar. And he said, just like they did in 1933, because in 1933, the U.S. made it illegal to own gold, and you had to turn your gold in. And gold was priced at $27.60 an ounce. So every good citizen, not a lot of people turned in their gold, but the good citizens turned in their gold. What did the Fed do? What did the U.S. do next? They revalued gold to $35 an ounce, effectively screwing the American public to the tune of 67%.
So why have I chosen to play that? Well, I think it's quite obvious because money is taking a new form, a crypto-enabled form, and various cryptocurrencies that we talk about on the channel are going to play a role in that. There's this great sort of shift happening akin to Bretton Woods or the Nixon shock, and people's lives are directly going to be affected by it. And this is now the agenda that isn't just going to be pursued by the United States, but the world more broadly, certainly probably to combat the United States. And there's always opportunities when there's shifts like this, but there's also casualties, and I don't want people to be a casualty of potentially a sort of global agenda to digitize the dollar to a further extent in the form of stablecoins and kind of change the world as we know it. So there's something massive happening right now, and I actually think they could devalue the dollar. I have speculated on this previously, that the dollar's about to sort of break out of a channel that it's been in since 2008, which coincidentally was when Satoshi was given to us. The Bitcoin white paper was given to us in 2008. And this is the channel that I'm referring to. Also, very interestingly, if you look at, we looked at some sort of papers or some recent evidence that came to light that Gensler had actually lost a load of text messages when you had your sort of lunar crash and things like this, and what FTX were doing and so on and so forth. And I actually think a lot of this was able to happen so that they could essentially regulate the fact that stablecoins actually had to be backed by treasuries and not the likes of Bitcoin or algorithmically backed. Because people have tried to move away from the debt system as we know it before, and it's usually never ended very well, and certainly Luna ended in that catastrophe. And there was a lot of speculation at the time that there was sort of foul play in regards to the cascading of it, but the fact that it could cascade in the first place, I guess, is very telling. So people need to pay attention to this, and this brings us perfectly on to my next point. We could do a video on this separately, and we probably should, and we have done many of them. Breaking: Tether unveils UST, a US-regulated dollar-backed stablecoin, with Bo Hines named CEO of Tether USAT. Interestingly, an individual highlighting here, Canton Fitzgerald will manage tethered reserves for their new US stablecoin USAT. Howard Lutnick, who's now the Commerce Secretary, stepped down from Cantor to fill the role of Secretary of Commerce. Now his two sons run the company. Bo Hines left his government digital asset role and went to Tether to become the CEO of USAT. This is a big agenda, guys, in regards to what they're trying to do. This is going to solidify Tether, I think. More broadly, their USDT and their USAT, I think, are going to play different roles. One perhaps more domestically within the United States and globally. And I think USDT plays that kind of crypto role, but also for a lot of the world that doesn't, if we look at like in Venezuela and places like this, they're already dollarizing, and this is part of the plan. And we see this, it's almost like a dollar milkshake take place. I should probably get Brent on in regards to talking to him about his milkshake theory. But there's a hell of a lot going on. There's a big thing going on. There's going to be casualties to it. There's going to be winners to it. I want you guys to be winners. Didn't get a chance because we've been away to sort of cover the USAT news. But here it is. Something really interesting here. This is from an individual. It says, I believe this is from a court filing, a class action lawsuit against Bitfinex and Tether. This is from 17. It says, while this scheme would be sufficient to hold Defiance liable if they acted independently, evidence produced in discovery indicates that the anonymous trader was aware that Defiance had issued debased USDT and thus compromised and thus conspired with them to inflate crypto commodities prices. Amongst other things, when the chief financial officer of both Tether and Bitfinex asked the anonymous trader, can you please push the Bitcoin price above 10K again? They replied saying, sure, no problem, just issue me some USDT. And actually there is a huge connection. Let's do the cryptocurrency market and let's take the draw off and let's put USDT market cap on. Here we go. Let's see what it is I'm referring to here. See this? And actually, if the agenda is stablecoins, there's going to be a float for crypto on the back end of that to sort of bring it full circle. There's lots going on, guys. We're going to try and keep you as up to date with it as humanly possible. Let's talk about some European news. Christine Lagarde, it was a pleasure to welcome Paul Atkins, chair of the US Securities and Exchange Commission at the ECB. Now, what's he trying to do? Project Crypto. He's ultimately trying to allow, as he said for himself, a new era of financial markets take place in which securities, US securities, are tokenized in the same way that they ended up digitized with the evolution of the internet. There's an evolution taking place. It doesn't just affect money, it affects assets more broadly. Crypto's at the heart of all of this. This is from Mr. Man. This is a key speech. Capital markets in digital age. This is from Dubrovnik, Croatia. Shout out to Croatia. Beautiful country. I'd always recommend Croatia. Beautiful people, beautiful country, beautiful sea. Tokenization, an opportunity for the EU's financial sector agenda. And this is from Natasha. I'm not going to try and attempt the second name. I do apologize. Talking about tokenization from the beautiful city of Dubrovnik. We are clearly in the middle of a new industrial revolution, is what is said here. I am looking forward to learning more about recent trends and new initiatives in the up-and-coming panels. And of course, Christine Lagarde meeting with Mr. Paul Atkins. Hell of a lot going on in the world, guys. Interestingly, to sort of move away from that, so it paints a very clear picture of the direction the crypto space is going in, I think, so far. Interestingly, to sort of move away from that, a lot of talk about GLXY. GLXY, again, talking about cup and handles, is a stock destined for all-time high price discovery. There's a major shift for not just the likes of GLXY, but Bitcoin miners that were previously hostile towards becoming kind of data farms. And this is why we're seeing the coin shares Bitcoin mining ETF breakout. There's a major shift with miners becoming kind of data farms and compute centers to essentially sort of accelerate AI. I think this is a trend that should be watched, and there's going to be, I believe, great opportunity there. And certainly I have miners, I have sort of crypto treasury stocks that I hold. Do become a patron and unlock that. And of course, you'll unlock my full crypto portfolio, which I must say is doing rather well. At a time when I think many people are frustrated with the crypto space, but don't be, because it is the agenda. And I think everything that we've just looked at in this daily market update and we look at every single day should be confirmation of all of that. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it from me. I'm going to love and leave you all. It's great to be back with you. I think a final remark that I would like to make is there is fake groups out there like Telegrams and things like this. We don't have that. The only thing that we have is a Patreon. Please do avoid these. They are scams. You should know that by some of the styles that these people are putting forward. It's not my style. It's total scams, and we will be looking to take legal action. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it from me. I'm going to love and leave you all. Always a pleasure to be back, and I'll see you all in the next one.